Now.
Hmm.
So, hello everybody, welcome to another episode or another podcast from Immortal Tortoise, where we talk all things mental health. Right. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Niharika, which is not her real name. She prefers to use the alias because of the stigma associated with mental health conditions. And she has a small daughter called Rashmi, which is also not her real name, who is on the autism spectrum. Right. So during this discussion with Niharika, we'll be understanding as to what autism is, how to deal with it, what are the possible causes of it, and what are some of the ways in which children can be handled who have this condition. Right? So Niharika, over to you. If you just take us through the journey of how you got a sense that Rashmi has autism and how did you go about
So Rashmi is a late speaker.
it?
She was 2 years old before she spoke,
Mm-hmm.
and naturally we were worried. So was her doctor. So I
Mm-hmm.
googled as to reasons why a child is a late speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and autism seemed to match her symptoms because uh, the main 4 5 symptoms were these only,
Mm-hmm.
that the child is a late speaker,
Mm-hmm.
likes to play by herself,
Mm-hmm.
gets startled by loud noises,
Mm-hmm.
and likes, to arrange things in lines,
Mm-hmm.
or has like stimming behavior, likes to, go around in circles or flap
Mm-hmm.
her arms like that.
Mm. So it
So,
was more the physical symptoms, or was there some mental symptom which also, like you mentioned lack of speech, but apart from that?
they have trouble regulating their emotions. So
Mm.
they tend to throw tantrums when they don't get their way. They
Mm.
have a lack of empathy,
Mm.
and they don't realize when they are causing somebody pain. So they might, uh, hit somebody on the arm with
Mm.
great force, but they don't realize that they are doing it with great force and it can
Mm.
hurt that person.
Mm. Okay.
So it's a neurological disorder,
Mm.
but yeah, nobody exactly knows why it happened,
Mm.
and early intervention helps.
Mm.
So we took her to a specialist, and
Mm.
the specialist also said the same thing, but they used the word autism spectrum disorder because
Mm.
it's a spectrum. Sometimes the child has more symptoms.
Mm.
Sometimes the child is better, so they keep going
Mm.
back and forth on the
Mm.
spectrum. So Rashmi is a mild case,
Mm.
and then we took a second opinion, and
Mm.
that doctor said that it's a borderline case.
Mm.
So he advised me to stimulate her. So
Mm.
I would spend half an hour with her every day.
Mm.
Uh, she would build something out of building blocks, and
Mm.
I would praise her, so that boosted her confidence. So
Mm.
then she started speaking, and then he just said that, just to go to Dr. Kadam,
Mm.
a child psychologist, before
Mm.
Rashmi starts school.
Mm.
And we went to her, and then
Mm.
Dr. Kadam did some activities which I later looked up online and found are used to diagnose uh, autism.
Mm.
She built a bridge of blocks and
Mm.
asked Rashmi to replicate it, but she wasn't able to do that.
Mm.
And
So when you say that she is mildly autistic or on the spectrum,
hmm,
what does that exactly mean? Is it possible that as she grows older, the autism might reduce or might increase? What happens exactly?
people say it. never really goes away. You
Mm-hmm.
have to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
But early intervention helps, and she is much better. And there are children who are non-verbal,
Mm-hmm.
who even, maybe at the age of 8 or 10, they
Mm-hmm.
could be non-verbal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like classical autism, Asperger's, after the
Mm-hmm.
person who figured
Mm-hmm.
this out.
Mm-hmm.
So with Rashmi, the doctor advised that we should go for speech therapy and occupational therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And that really made the difference because there was somebody in my corner and
Mm-hmm.
that person was an expert. So whatever challenges I was having with dealing with the behavior, because they tend to be hyperactive, and
Mm-hmm.
probably about half of them have ADHD also.
Exactly. I was going to come to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first specialist visit, she was just like bouncing off the walls throughout that entire hour.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor pointed that out. And
Mm-hmm.
even with Dr. Kadam, she just didn't sit still. She was just exploring all over the chamber. So
Mm-hmm.
the doctor said that therapy will help with that.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, the speech therapist said that, for Rashmi to get to the level of her peers, it will take a year, maybe 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But we made such good progress because
Mm-hmm.
I would practice the activities,
Mm-hmm.
therapy at home,
Mm-hmm.
couple of times a day at least.
Mm.
Mm. So within 6 months, Rashmi's speech was at par with her peers.
That's awesome. There's clearly signs that she is made of malleable material. She can make progress if given
Yeah,
the right
yeah,
guidance.
yeah. That's where early intervention really helps because
Mm.
actually kids get more set and it's more difficult to
Mm.
persuade them to your way later
Mm.
on. I'm seeing now the change, and I feel if one started now, it would not have been so smooth.
Mm.
And occupational therapy, which is kind of teaching the child how to deal
Mm.
with their body, like help them to sit still and
Mm.
help them to work off their energy by things like bear walk and all that.
Mm.
So there's gross motor movements, fine motor movements.
Mm.
So that we continued for 2 years in
Mm.
total. And then
Mm.
that therapist also felt that she doesn't need therapy anymore because
Mm.
she doesn't have that rote behavior,
Mm.
which, is also like a classical sign of ASD.
Mm.
So then we stopped that, and
Mm.
because I feel that kind of like is all right for younger kids.
Mm.
As they get older, then the challenges are more complex. How to
Mm.
behave socially and
Mm.
all that. So for that, school really helped. So
Mm.
one of the reasons probably for her symptoms getting aggravated was that no school during COVID.
Mm.
So
Mm.
because of COVID, we couldn't send her to school,
Mm.
and so she started school when she was 3 plus.
Mm.
And initially, there were challenges, complaints from school and all, but
Mm.
we kind of worked on those. I made a social story.
Mm.
Time
So
helps.
does she have any orientation towards sports or the arts? Does she have a creative or a sportsman spirit in her in any way in order to channelize her energy or her mental orientation?
Yeah, she's very fond of art and craft.
Mm.
So that really helps to calm her down.
Mm.
Basically, she should do something with her hands, if she's
Mm.
getting agitated, because that keeps her busy. And
Mm.
so otherwise, she will go and, disturb
Mm.
another child and things like that.
Mm.
So these are all tricks, which picked up in therapy.
Mm.
So to kind of do that or distract her if, she's yelling and all that,
Mm.
because they don't realize. how loud they are, the
mm,
dysregulation, aspect. So they don't know they are being loud. So you have to like
mm,
tell them those that sensorial disorder is
mm,
there. And of course, outdoor play helps her to work off her energy.
mm,
So definitely some time in nature, I make it a point to, and she also makes it a point to remind me it's time to go down, and then we
mm,
go and get that time.
mm,
So now she's going to uh, go to big school soon.
mm,
So more homework because they have a problem with executive functioning skills. So I have
mm,
to sit down with her and
mm,
ensure that she does her homework. Nag her, even though it just takes 10 minutes.
mm,
She'll be running around. So I looked up strategies online, and one
mm,
tip was to use a timer.
mm,
That worked out well. So I just set
mm,
like a 10-minute timer,
mm,
and then she does her homework by herself. So
interesting.
you just have to kind of look what's out there, what's worked for people with
Mm,
the same condition, or what caregivers have said, and then try to adopt that.
mm,
Yeah. Having said that,
mm,
these children, they might be, back in some aspects, but they are
mm,
ahead in some aspects.
mm,
So she does think differently.
mm,
So, she has a great memory and wants to be a doctor, and she might even get there, because
mm,
that will help her.
mm,
So we got this land form kit, and
mm,
we made those pop-up models.
mm,
And then she said, I want some figures here.
mm,
Let's make them out of cardboard
mm,
and stick them the same way.
mm,
So I'm not sure whether, a neurotypical child would have
definitely.
thought of that.
Mm,
They
mm,
would have just probably observed that, oh, that isn't there, and it would have been nice if it had been there.
mm,
But she actually then, started
mm,
drawing on the cardboard the figures she wanted, the girl
mm,
and all that. So,
interesting. So
hmm.
what's the road ahead? How do you see her life panning out? How do you see herself taking care of her once she goes to school and school starts? So this is a bigger school, right?
Yeah, so I think she might be able to manage
Hmm.
because she's become so much better.
Hmm.
And we haven't actually told the school that of a condition,
Hmm.
because the doctor said that I've seen that when we tell the school,
Hmm.
then the school refuses to take the child
Correct.
because it's an additional
Hmm.
burden on them. So
Hmm.
if there is an issue, then the doctor steps in, kind of
Hmm.
a thing. So
Hmm.
let's see how it goes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And social stories are helping definitely. So
Hmm.
as the child, becomes older, you have to
Hmm.
use more complex strategies also.
Hmm. How
So
is she with friends? Does she have friends in your? Has she made friends at the earlier school, or are there friends in your building? How does that work for her?
So initially, she didn't have many friends in school,
Hmm.
but now she does, and that hunger for peers is there.
Hmm.
Because if we go down to play,
Hmm.
and her friends are there,
Hmm.
want to play longer, and I
Hmm.
can't go down for very long. There's other things to do at home for them.
Hmm. Right.
Home. Sometimes it's only 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Obviously, she'll want to play more with them. But,
Hmm.
then after like maybe a short time only, they'll end up fighting.
Hmm.
So that kind of thing is there.
Hmm.
So socially, it'll always be like, they are. more towards the solitary side.
Hmm.
But she's a loving child. She'll
Hmm.
come and hug me when she
Hmm.
wants a hug and
Hmm.
all of that.
Hmm.
And she did say that, I will be in a team of doctors and then I can, marry one of the doctors in my team. So they really, plan very much ahead and,
Right.
they want structure. She'll ask me on Friday, what's the plan for the weekend? And
Acha.
they want a plan, otherwise, it makes them anxious. So
Acha.
then I'll tell her that, okay, tomorrow we are going here,
Hmm.
day after we'll go down to play for longer or
Hmm.
whatever, I give her something basically.
Hmm.
Her
This
verbal.
is really interesting that it's quite a task in a way to handle and manage a person on the autistic spectrum. So, how do you manage this along with your household and work responsibilities?
So initially it was about getting additional help. So we hired a helper in the morning for
Mm-hmm.
like kitchen prep and all.
Mm-hmm.
So I could take some time out for Jashvi in the morning as well.
Mm-hmm. Rashmi, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that. And just kind of I keep some books which she likes and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have access to otherwise handy.
Mm-hmm.
So if she's acting up or if I have a meeting to take,
Mm-hmm.
I can just give that to her.
Mm-hmm.
So then, she's engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, like, I read some very useful books. So one of them had that you can make an emotional toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
So I have made a picture of an emotional thermometer and stuck it up because they're visual learners. If
Mm-hmm.
she's out of control, I point to the top where it's written out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I say that, now go to your emotional toolbox. So that's
Mm-hmm.
like about five,
Mm-hmm.
six index cards
Mm-hmm.
I prepared with her. So,
Mm-hmm.
like hammer, the picture of the hammer. There's a one with the picture of a hammer, and then it has some
Mm-hmm.
cross motor activities under it, like jump and all.
Mm-hmm.
So, when she feels like doing that, she should do that to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Another has do deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Another has play with Play-Doh because
Mm-hmm.
very sensorial,
Mm-hmm.
or dolls, or
Mm-hmm.
read. So, there are like buckets of activities on these cards.
Mm-hmm.
So then she can do that. So at least then that gives her some ways to cope with her
Mm-hmm.
emotions. She's not
Right.
free.
So you mentioned that she has like a planned and structured approach to life, and she also has an artistic streak, you know.
Hmm.
So would you say that she's gifted in a certain sense when it comes to certain areas of cognition?
Yes, I would say she is. And even the doctor said that like her reading level is at least a couple of years ahead of her
Okay.
age,
Mm-hmm.
and even the vocabulary she uses. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
she told me that, explain to her that big words like fascinating she should use with her inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
And with her outer circle, she should not use such words, otherwise her peers will get scared and, run away. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to help her understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a memoir by a person with ASD,
Mm-hmm.
and it helped me understand her better because there were similar things like, he said that I do have a lack of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
I like things in black and white. I don't understand why I have to make small talk.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm asking somebody if somebody is asking me how are you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I say I'm good?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff, and I was getting that because it was matching.
Mm-hmm.
He, I think, was there in the 60s.
Hmm.
So he was also gifted. So he helped Pink Floyd with their
Hmm.
sound.
Hmm.
So that's how he used his gift.
Hmm.
And he got married eventually
Hmm.
to someone who knew his condition, but
Hmm.
like she loved him nevertheless because
Hmm.
they do have lovable qualities also.
Hmm. Right.
So that was encouraging.
So there's no medication for autism, is it?
Briefly, the doctor had given some homeopathic medicine to
Hmm.
reduce her hyperactivity.
Hmm.
I don't know if that helped or not,
Hmm.
but then we stopped it because she was improving.
Hmm.
And there are quacks who claim that they have these kinds of medicines, but
Hmm.
no, there's no medication because
Hmm.
I think it falls more in the neurological
Hmm.
space, probably. It's a
Hmm.
disorder. The uh,
Hmm.
connections between the nerves aren't
Hmm.
built properly. That's
Hmm.
why they have, the difficulty in experiencing pain
Hmm.
or, the other aspects, I think.
So, given that this is a neurological condition, have you given any thought as to the kind of diet she should have in terms of taking in foods which are particularly good for the brain?
So I read that kiwi helps because it
Hmm.
has, I think, melanin with
Hmm.
sleep. Because
Hmm.
initially she used to sleep less.
Hmm.
So I would have to ensure she's tired out and
Hmm.
like, 6 hours before sleeping, there's not been a nap and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
And it's better now because she doesn't nap in the day.
Hmm.
So she's anyways tired by night.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's what you have to keep in mind.
Hmm.
And the doctor had said to avoid sugar
Hmm.
because it's bad for ASD kids. It makes them very,
Sugar, you mean refined sugar or like maida or sweets? What? Rice? Like what do you mean by that? By avoiding sugar?
yeah, basically not giving her sweets.
Hmm.
And she also said that we should not give her milk.
Okay.
So we switched to soy milk,
Okay.
and she was having that because
Hmm.
she had a constipation issue
Okay.
when she was small.
Okay.
But now she doesn't.
Hmm.
Used home remedies, and
Hmm.
she's still on that, but
Hmm.
she's fine now.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So she'll be joining school from this summer, right?
Yeah, yeah, big school.
Hmm. Big school, right? She's looking forward to that.
Yeah, but I think she wants to know what exactly is ahead because she'll
Hmm.
ask me, okay, what are the
Hmm.
timings and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
And how big is the class size?
Regular about 40, 50.
Okay.
So one of the books I was reading on ASD said that, they might be like very docile at school,
Hmm.
but then they are like extra riotous at home because they've
Hmm.
bottled it all up in school.
Hmm.
So that might happen.
Hmm.
And also, like, if you put an ASD kid in an environment with 5 children,
Hmm.
it's not like being with 5 other kids for them. It's more
Hmm.
equivalent to being with 15 other kids for them,
Hmm.
because it
Hmm.
stresses them out. That kind of uh,
Hmm. So
social
I would
media.
actually encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to read up on this term highly sensitive people,
Hmm.
and or they're also called empaths, right?
Hmm.
So these people are very sensitive to the environment, people around them, their surroundings, the vibe around them, and sometimes they get overwhelmed by this stimulus. which often
Mm.
leads to mental health conditions.
Mm.
You know, so that's something which I've researched on because I have bipolar one and I have dealt with this condition for 10 years now, and I try to manage it through harnessing it in various ways. Right?
Mm.
So you could check that term out. In fact, there's a book written on it by the person who coined the term.
Mm. Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
the term is highly sensitive people or HSPs.
Mm.
So that could be something useful for you.
Sure.
Great, great. Anything
So,
else you would like to add?
no, I just wanted to say that so her verbal skills are ahead,
Hmm.
and even like her visual skills, because
Hmm.
she's wanted a dollhouse for the longest time. So
Hmm.
once we went into a toy shop, and up top in one corner there was like a dollhouse carton.
Hmm.
When she stepped into the shop, she pointed that out to me and she said, "Oh, there's a dollhouse over there."
Hmm.
So she might do well in art,
Hmm.
and of course, she wants to be a doctor,
Hmm.
and if she can do that also. That
Hmm.
Netflix series is
The Good Doctor. Yes, I was going to come to that.
the Extraordinary Attorney.
Ah, correct. The extraordinary.
Well,
Correct.
that's
Correct.
also similar
That's also
because,
something. Yes.
like in law, in medicine, you have to like
Correct.
uh, process a lot of information.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's helpful because that memoir of the autistic person
Hmm.
talked about that
Hmm.
he wanted to work in an individual profession
Hmm.
because getting along in a corporate setup was very
Hmm.
challenging for him because you have
Hmm.
to like sometimes suck up to people.
Hmm.
He didn't get that. Why should he do that? So
Correct.
those with socializing you have to do after
Hmm.
hours. So he was very good with cars. So he just, opened a car repair business.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I think maybe these individual kind of professions
Hmm.
would work, like the legal one or
Hmm.
the medical one, or
Hmm.
art is, of course, always there.
Hmm.
But she is pretty clear that,
Hmm.
she wants to be a doctor. So that's a good
Hmm.
aim
But
to have.
has she elaborated on what's the reason that she wants to be a doctor so badly?
I haven't really asked her,
Hmm.
but she is nurturing sometimes.
Hmm.
So probably that.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think she has a doctor's kit. She likes
Hmm.
playing with that, and
Hmm.
maybe it's a little tactile. You're
Hmm.
using stethoscope on
Hmm.
somebody's chest and like
Hmm.
that. So yeah, I'll ask her and get
Hmm.
back to you.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Very interesting, Niharika. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure it will resonate with many people across India and maybe across the world who have small kids with autism. And it's clear that there's a way of managing the condition and that these children have tremendous potential also if they are exposed to the right environment, right?
Yeah, it might be hard on the caregiver, but then,
Hmm.
when there are these flashes of
Hmm.
brilliance
Hmm.
on the other side of the
Hmm.
scale, like they are extraordinary, so they are extraordinarily challenging to handle sometimes,
Hmm.
but then they have, extraordinary skills as well. In
Hmm.
fact, companies like Microsoft are actually deliberately
Hmm.
recruiting neurodiverse
Hmm.
people because they
Hmm.
think differently.
Correct. Correct.
So hopefully,
Hmm.
eventually, there'll be more acceptance of
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there were books which talked about how as they grow older, then they realize they're different.
Hmm.
Probably when they are 8, then that's the earliest you can have a conversation about
Hmm.
condition with them.
Hmm.
But we'll, I think, tackle that when we come
Hmm.
to it.
Hmm.
And Yeah, I think uh, because of all these inclusive schools,
Hmm.
children also
Hmm.
are getting more accepting that okay,
Hmm.
there are others,
Hmm.
some with physical conditions which you can see,
Hmm.
some with other conditions which are not so obvious.
Hmm.
So I think we need to work towards increasing that acceptance in
Hmm.
society as
Hmm.
well. And then that also might help them feel less anxious.
Hmm.
So let's hope.
Yep, it's a long process, and hopefully we see it during our lifetime that neurodivergent people and people from other mental orientations are accepted, are adopted into society, and not given any kind of stigma or any kind of second thought when it comes to job opportunities or career placements or friendships or groups of people. Let's see. Let's hope what happens.
Yeah, these are things you cannot force. The
Hmm.
best person will get the job.
Hmm.
You like somebody, you will be friends with them. But
Hmm.
I think they have a lot going for them.
Hmm.
So they should be able to get stuff on their own steam.
Hmm. Hmm.
There definitely disadvantages, but they'll have to be smart about it that,
Hmm.
go to places where the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, like maybe research, where
Hmm.
you need people who think
Hmm.
differently,
Correct.
and even in friendships.
Hmm.
Uh, we all have friends, who have, negative qualities,
Hmm.
but the positives outweigh those. So
Hmm.
that's why we are still friends with them.
Hmm.
So, and earlier this condition was not so prevalent,
Hmm.
apparently, like maybe 50 years ago,
Hmm.
not so prevalent, but
Hmm.
now it's increasing. I don't
Hmm.
know why.
Hmm.
So maybe it'll increase further. So
Hmm.
then maybe, there will be more positive steps
Hmm.
that collectively we take to, help them.
Hmm.
So we just have to wait and see, and with the way medicine keeps advancing,
Hmm.
so I'm sure that there'll be, more strategies to help everybody kind of
So.
help with this even more.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
let's hope.
Definitely. That seems to be the foreseeable future. So thanks, Niharika, for taking out the time to participate in this endeavor to spread awareness about mental health conditions. And I'm sure there'll be many young parents out there who could benefit from this podcast. Thanks again. I'll just put the recording on pause and we can continue our chat offline. Sure. Thanks again.
Sure. Welcome.